Welcome, welcome. So excited to have everybody on this call. We've got hundreds of people dialing in internationally from US and abroad. And so we'll give it another minute here before we kick off full steam ahead with our partners in crime here, with Joel and Rick. That's going to lead us through some amazing social media content. So welcome everybody on the call. Welcome Sylvia and Susan and Tony. Thanks for joining us today. Mohammed and Marta, thank you. Welcome. Welcome Jerry, Francisco, and Colleen. Thanks so much for joining us. Alex, Carolina, thank you for joining us, taking time out of your busy Friday. It's not Friday. Is it Friday?
Friday. You know what?
It's Wednesday.
Friday.
Does every day feel like Friday?
It is Wednesday.
Right now?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, it is Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Boy, it's a blur team. If you've been tuning into these weekly webinars, we typically are having these on Friday, and I'll just tell you, it's been really exciting, the participation that we've got. A couple of house cleaning items before we kick off today's call, as we have more and more people trickling in. Most of these webinars have been housed on a Friday. They are memorialized if you go to ptaglobal.com/events. So again, ptaglobal.com/events under complimentary webinars. This will be housed there in the next, let's say, 10 days. And so you can review this there. If you're on here and you're like, wow, you know, I wish I had my best buddy that could have joined me, or I wish I had my team today on this call. Whatever that needs to look like, just understand that we will have these memorialized in 10 days. A couple other house cleaning items. Each of you are on mute, just in case anyone has a crazy barking dog or a Texas Chainsaw Massacre in your backyard. We don't have to listen to that. But with that, I want to go ahead and kick off what is going to be some amazing content with some amazing contributors here from FitBiz Toolbox. Joel and Rick, do you want to go and say hi to the audience real quick before we go through our polls?
Joel, you first.
Sure. Hey guys, so I'm Joel with FitBiz Toolbox, and I'm happy to be here with you. I'm currently just consulting for a bunch of different brands in sales and marketing, and a lot of what we do is social media. So hopefully we'll be able to share some best practices here.
Yeah. And I'm Rick. I founded FitBiz Toolbox about 4 years ago with a different business model, and we're now really focused on the in-gym business education side of things. And I personally am involved mostly in video production and marketing, and actually building online programming and courses for people and brands.
Awesome. Thanks, fellas. I'm looking forward to deep diving, as I know everybody is on this call with you guys, and learning some trade secrets to the social media game. So with that, I want to go ahead and do a quick poll just to figure out who's on the call today. And so the first thing I'd like to know is who is kind of US based versus international. So we're going to go ahead and launch that poll for you. Looking good. So it looks like 60+% so far, around 60% US, 40% international. Okay, good to know. Good to know. And then the second thing I would like to know is how many are independent personal trainers or online personal training right now versus maybe from kind of a corporate chain. I think that'll help to guide our conversation as well. Looks like about 70% so far independent are doing online personal training, 30% not. That's why I think many of you are kind of like, yeah, I want to learn some trade secrets from this social media game, Israel. Absolutely. We're going to make sure that we get you up to speed, and we give you some good stuff there. Awesome. Yeah, so about a 70-30 mix of online independent trainers, and then maybe 30% other. So fantastic there. Thank you so much for doing that. I think that'll help us in today's time. So for many of you that have joined our series, and again, you can catch these again on ptaglobal.com/events. They'll be memorialized. So this specific webinar will be there probably in 10 days. And so take a look at that. But when I think about social media, and again, this is 20 years in this game. You guys are industry veterans as well. It's been very interesting to see the evolution in how we communicate to customers, or essentially our audience, because we're no longer in the MySpace game, right? Which was a hit when I was a trainer. MySpace, and several of you on the call right now are Googling MySpace, like, what, MySpace? Whose space? Everybody's space? What is this? Also, what was relevant at that time was Napster. So for any of you on the call, remember Napster, right? But many of you on the call probably are Googling, okay, well, I like naps. I like to take a nap. So maybe that's it. I don't know. No, it's not that kind of nap. But again, when we look at 20 years ago, the evolution of how we communicate and how we connect in kind of a digital front, right? Not necessarily person to person, eyeball to eyeball. It's obviously grown. And with that has grown a lot of good things and maybe some not good things. And we kind of want to talk about the do's and don'ts, so that you're not following into the same pitfalls that many Instagram trainers of the world, many one-hit wonders, Insta millionaires tend to follow when there's no clear direction, right? Because the heart's in the right place. Your purpose is to help people, but how we do that is very, very important, right? And so what I want us all to kind of remember is many times we try to impress with our strengths. But when it comes to customer service and when it comes to relationship building, we always connect through our weaknesses, right? So we impress with our strengths, but we connect through our weaknesses. And those weaknesses can just be common struggles, vulnerability, because remember, you're the expert. So in your client's eyes, sometimes they put you on a pedestal and they see as, well, you'll never understand. You've never been 100 pounds overweight. You've never had self-confidence issues, because look at you, you look amazing. But little did they know that you've got a journey, you've got a story. And so talk about those things, the common challenges, the struggle, and how you can add value and help that person, because that's really how we connect. And so I love this quote from one of my favorite leaders in the industry, Craig Groeschel, that we impress people with our strengths, but we connect through our weaknesses. So I want you to remember that as we continue the journey today. So let's talk about empathy, right? Because that is the topic of discussion, is why is empathy important? Well, let's clarify first. Empathy is not the same thing as sympathy, right? And sometimes we hear that and we're like, well, what do you mean, Israel? Well, what's the difference? I think about empathy is feeling with somebody. I've been in those shoes. I understand your struggle. I can only imagine, right, the aches and pains that you're going through day in, day out. Versus sympathy, right? We're really feeling for someone, right? Oh, I'm so sorry that happened, right? But you know what? Lace up your bootstraps and let's get to work. So, okay, I get it. You're tough. But you know what? Our clients mentally and emotionally are probably not where you are, which is why they're coming to you. And so it's really important that we don't scare people off with those tactics that sometimes can disconnect us relationally and emotionally with clients. We'll talk about how to do that specifically in social media here in a minute. Also, for many of you that may be new to PTA Global, everything that we do is through systems. And so one of the pieces of this call is we wanted to not only make sure that we're brilliant at the basics, right? We can't get away from the fundamentals of how we connect and relate to human beings when we are eyeball to eyeball. But we also have to be smart and understand that in today's world, with gyms closed, right, and trainers looking for answers, we are working more and more digital than ever. Although we'll never get away from the power of the human touch and the power of eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly, hand to heart, right? We have to evolve in our messaging on social media. So for PTA Global, we are rooted in the foundations of our systems. Remember, a system, if you're writing this down, is save yourself some time, energy, and money. And as a personal trainer, your time is money. And so we have to have some systems that are going to allow you to reproduce outcomes, right? If we look at how we do this at PTA Global, essentially we got three main buckets. We are here to help you learn how to gain clients, train clients, and retain clients. The funny thing is you can accomplish all of those things. It's not just attraction through social media. You also can gain clients, train clients, and retain clients if your messaging and follow-up is where it needs to be. So I think there's going to be some things that overlap both in a eyeball-to-eyeball world and a virtual space as well with this. If you're looking at ways to basically evolve your content and really do a deep dive during this time, our exercise and stress management is really going to take your game to the next level as far as, next level programming. Our behavior change in exercise is really, we're going to talk about motivation, how to change a client's behavior, whether it's, via social or via eyeball to eyeball, because it's the same person, right? We have the same challenges and behaviors that we're going to need to change. So if you're the expert in doing that, you are going to be more influential and more successful more often than not. Maybe it's mindset. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to get your mindset right? And also your client's mindset right. So maybe you want to look at our mindset performance credential, right? Where we look at how to really get the head so that we can earn the right to get the body. Because if we don't get the head, we won't get the body, right? Or maybe it's, some more expanded literature on sales and overcoming objections and really getting into the heart of how to connect PTA Global content, right? But really make that, expedite that process and your success as a personal trainer within your first 90 days. And that's going to be more of our fast track course. Then obviously our NCCA accredited certification course is our bread and butter at PTA Global, and that's going to be our personal training, our CPT right now. And so I just wanted to reframe this because there are so many things that you're going to walk away with as far as valuable content adds from some industry experts today, but we still want to make sure that we're executing the basics on what the fundamental things are to be a great professional trainer, right? To be a great technician and to deliver 10 out of 10 service every single time. So with that, I want to segue into friends, partners in crime, and industry experts to Joel and Rick to go ahead and take it away with the do's and don'ts and what we might can learn from you guys in social media.
All right, thanks, Israel. So this is, I'm not going to read through this entire list. These are going to be your takeaways. You don't want to market, what we're going to talk about in a second is marketing myopia. Major one is you don't want to chase likes. And Israel, this is going out to them. They'll get the deck or no after this?
We won't send the deck, but we are going to send a few tidbits and promos from you guys specifically.
Yeah, so we'll want to add these bullets in there as takeaways. And if you guys are writing these things down, I'm not going to go through each bullet, but this is what we're going to be covering. So let's get right to that next slide. So marketing myopia is a term that defines a style of marketing, and it's a short-sighted approach to marketing. And it's basically we're messaging and doing our marketing, and we're only talking about our products and our services. And that is very, very common. It's, basically I sell programs, or I sell packages, or I sell, or worse, I just say I sell personal training. Now, that is not connecting with, or it's not getting involved in what we call the conversation that's occurring in the consumer's mind. So somebody's looking at social media, they're thinking about certain things and their fitness journey or their desire to get onto a fitness journey, and you just say, I'm a personal trainer. And a lot of people don't necessarily know what that even means. And as far as, let's step to empathy for a second. If we're going to be empathetic, it's easier in the gym to be empathetic when you're face to face with somebody. But if you're in social media, you can't ask the question to them about what you need to be empathetic about. So you're kind of guessing. So what we do is we fall back to this. We don't know what to say because we don't know who's in front of us. So we just say, I'm a personal trainer. I have big biceps. Look at me in a bikini. Well, I don't say that part, but some people do. Like Joel, I think, does that. So that's actually a step further than marketing myopia, because marketing myopia is we spend our time talking about the product that we're trying to sell. That at least has some benefit. We take it a step further in fitness. We take it to the point where we are talking about our body and our own physical prowess. So there's three tiers here. So on the spectrum, you've got talking to the client's needs and what they're interested in. You've got simply talking about your product and not connecting it to their needs. And then you've got talking about yourself and your physical prowess. You couldn't be any further away from talking about the client's needs than if you're there. So here's a typical trainer post is, look at me, with the goal of likes. Now look at here, you got all these likes. Now how engaged are people when they're liking? They're not very engaged. And our goal in social media is to get people engaged and to get people involved in our services. So it's great that you get a lot of likes. It feels good to get likes. But when we're doing this type of marketing, we're just sending a single message out to everyone. So I want you to envision you're a kid at a birthday party, and they blindfold you, so you don't know where this piñata is, and they hand you a wet pool noodle, and they say, go ahead and hit that piñata. So you're swinging the pool noodle everywhere. You're just wildly swinging. You're spraying water on people, and you're not even close to it. That's what we're doing with mass marketing. We're not connecting with a target audience. The target audience in this case is the piñata. Your goal is to hit that piñata. And with a blindfold on, without segmenting and without knowing who you're talking to, you're just sending pictures of yourself all over the internet, and no one really knows what you can help them do. So in order to hit the piñata, in the piñata example, in order to hit a piñata, you need to take off the blindfold, and you need to get a nice broomstick or something that's stiff that's going to crack it open. Once you can see the piñata and you have an effective tool for hitting the piñata, you can crack it wide open really easily. And that's what segmentation is. Segmentation is taking the blindfold off to your marketing and saying, I know exactly who I'm going to go after. By doing this, you end up with quality interaction, quality engagement. So instead of getting 100 likes or 200 likes or 1,000 likes, you could end up with 20 engaged followers. An engaged follower is much more likely to purchase your products and services than someone who's just scrolling with their thumb and hitting like. So the goal is, forget the goal of how many likes, how many followers. Don't go out and buy likes because it's very obvious when you do that. What you want to do is get people engaged. And how you do that is you find a segment that's going to be interested in what you're talking about, and you talk about their specific interests. And from there, you're going to end up with quality followers who are going to be much more engaged. Now, there's 4 types of segmentation, and we're not going to go through these. We're going to talk about 2 of these. The 2 that we're going to talk about today is behavioral and psychographic. So let's just jump right into the benefit segmentation. We go to the next slide. Okay, so our typical posts are when we're showing our muscles, not us, not you guys, but a lot of people. The next step is benefit segmentation. And benefit segmentation is a good step in the right direction because you're saying, I'm going to train, for one example here, I want to run a 5K. So you start marketing to, I can make a program to help you run a 5K. And that becomes potentially your segment. Or I want bigger muscles, or I'm not healthy, or I'm too fat. You have a specific segment and you say, I can make a program for that. I can teach you exercises. I can make meal plans. Now, this is a step, like I said, this is a step in the right direction towards talking to clients' needs, but you're not necessarily joining a real conversation in their mind. And the challenge here is that you're saying, if you're saying, I can make the best program for a 5K, or I can make a program for a 5K for you, Google 5K training plans, and you're going to find millions of them for free. So you're now competing with other programs that are available online that may be free or really, really inexpensive. So every single example, whether it's teaching about food, everything that we do, people can find online at some level. So we have to take it to another level than just, this is still being myopic. You're still talking about what you offer. So you need to take it to the next level and start talking about, if we go to the next slide, start talking about what people are actually thinking. Because when the person who says, I want to run a 5K, and you say, I can give you a program for that, the next question, the next thing that's going to cross their mind is maybe, I lack confidence. I don't really think I can do it. Or the people that said they were too fat, instead, they might say, I'm probably going to get hurt. Or they might be thinking, but this doesn't fit into my lifestyle. So it's great that you can make a program for somebody, but if they lack confidence, if they don't find exercise enjoyable, it's still a little difficult to get them involved. And remember, if you're not getting them engaged, you can't have that conversation. So we need to find a way to get them engaged. So we're going to need to change our posts to your new feed, which is things like this. And I'm not saying say exactly these, but your messaging has to be like, for the people that say it doesn't fit into my lifestyle, you say, I help busy people fit exercise into their lifestyle. You have a testimonial of somebody who said they were a busy professional and now they're having success. That person who says, I lack confidence, posts about saying, yes, you can. I have a program. I know a lot of people lack confidence. You can do it, and I will show you how. So you're speaking directly to the conversation in their mind. If you're a fun trainer, you just do things about how much fun you are. So you choose something that people value, which leads us to what we call the elements of value.
And Joel, I'm sorry, Rick, if I can interject there, we've got a lot of questions coming through in the chat box. So team, if you aren't aware, there is a question box where you can type in your questions. I know many of you probably already have 1,000 questions for Rick as he's going into some amazing content. So I just wanted to make sure everyone, you can find the question box, and we're going to basically field those at the end of the call today, and it'll be first come, first serve. So you may want to already start kind of pumping in those questions now, so that we can go ahead and field those at the end. Continue, Rick.
Awesome. So in our courses and a lot of our content, we talk about the elements of value. And this is we got this from a company called Bain, did some research in this area, and the Harvard Business Review published the article. And basically, there's 30 elements of value that if a company can offer products or message these elements of value, like providing hope, like in these examples, somebody that lacks confidence, you can provide hope through your messaging and through your products. I'll probably get hurt. Well, you can message reduced risk. Exercise is not enjoyable. You're fun and entertaining, or it doesn't fit my lifestyle. You can talk about how it integrates. The more elements of value a company or a trainer or any brand can show and offer, the more success they found in this research. In fact, the best example is Amazon, and they, I think, have 10 elements of value in their messaging and their marketing. So the more elements you can have, the more people you attract, because you're actually being empathetic to what they're looking for and what's preventing them, not what's preventing them from getting to their goals, but what's preventing them from getting involved in fitness in the first place. And I think now we hand it to Joel.
All right, thanks, Rick. So what I'll do, everyone, is just kind of give you some practical application in regards to how you can implement this in some of the messaging that you might have in any type of social media. And so one of the things that I've done in the last 3 to 5 years is I was working for one of the large chains, teaching personal trainers and salespeople just how to create effective messaging. And when I was doing that, I discovered this thing called copywriting. And sometimes people, if you're not familiar with copywriting, think of patents and trademarks when you hear copywriting, but I'm talking about copywriting with a W-R-I-T-I-N-G. And copywriting is really the practice of implementing a message in writing so that people pay attention. And what I'm going to share with you today is just some common copywriting principles that marketers use to get your customer to pay attention. And really what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your customers, if you know nothing about them, to kind of lean in. So imagine you're walking down the street and you're inundated with all these messages, and all of a sudden there's a message that catches your attention, and it makes you stop. There are common things that we can do with our messages that will get our customers to stop what they're doing and actually pay attention to what we're saying. And so I'm going to give you a couple of them, and you can use it whether you're writing a social media post or you're doing a paid advertising on social media, and it really encompasses any of the social media platforms, or even if you're going to do a video. We use these same copywriting principles even when we're creating videos for people that they're going to put on YouTube. And this is not the end all be all, but I did want to give you a couple of things that you can implement right away with your messaging so that you can catch your customers' attention so that they lean in and they pay attention. So the first one I'll give to you is what we call PROM. And so if you're taking notes, PROM stands for problem, relate, observation, and mission. And I'll give you an example of this in just a second. But here's the key with PROM. You really want to follow the order. And it kind of goes back to what Rick was saying. Oftentimes trainers and just people in general, we want to talk about ourselves. And in reality, what we need to be doing if you want your customer to pay attention is you need to start with their problem. You need to to be speaking about the problem that exists for them. And when we talk about problems, we want to go beyond the surface of have. So let me give you an example. We know that our clients in the fitness industry, many of them want to lose weight. That's a have, okay? They don't have the body that they're looking for. But we know that the problem is deeper than that. So we want to start with a problem that is even deeper, that goes even further in their lives. So we want to be talking about do's. So maybe by not having the body that they're looking for, what are they not able to do? Maybe it's they're not able to play with their kids as much as they want because they get winded, or they get winded walking up the stairs. There are certain things that they're limited by. Maybe they're just not dating. They're not getting out there and dating because they don't have the self-esteem that they want. So that's going to kind of get into the feel. When you talk about a problem, you might not be able to get that deep right away, but you want to start by calling out a problem that might exist for someone rather than talk about yourself first. And I'll give you an example, as I said, in just a second. I have in here, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I have something called the moment of highest tension. One of the things that I think marketers in general and people who are creating messages struggle with is they use weak language. And what I mean by that is it's language that's not creating a mental picture. It's not clear and it's not specific. You want to have specific language that creates a picture in the mind of the customer. And I'll give you an example of this with problem. And I promise with the rest of these, I'll go a little faster. But moment of highest tension, I'm going to use financial services, just a different, a completely different field. Here would be an example of a moment of highest tension. It's the point in which when someone would say, I need to fix this. We could say, and this would be kind of weak language, hey, if you struggle with your finances, that's a problem, okay? Well, that is a problem, but it's not really painting a mental picture. It's not really hitting home. What if I said with my message, I had a client who just didn't have a plan with her finances. And one day she goes to take her family to a special event at a restaurant, and she goes to pay for their meal, and all of her credit cards were maxed out. She couldn't pay for that meal because all of her credit cards were maxed out. Now it sounds, emotional, but that happens to people. That's a moment of highest tension. You're getting granular, you're getting clear with what the problem is for that person. So, we get into a lot more detail on this in some of our courses, but I did just want to make sure you understand when you're creating the message, you want to be clear and create a mental picture. The next thing is, once you define that problem, you want to relate it to something. And Israel said this in the very beginning. If you've struggled with something, call it out. If you've struggled with weight loss, call it out. Hey, I was in a similar place. I can relate to that. Now, you don't necessarily want to say, I understand exactly how you feel, because that might minimize the way that someone feels. But you can say, hey, I also had my struggles. I was vulnerable. Now, some of you maybe just can't really relate to that. Maybe you just were born in shape. You just always have, it's been part of your life. You have customers, you have clients who have struggled with that. So with relate, what you can do is you can call out one of your customers, hey, one of your clients. Hey, I have a client who was struggling with the exact same thing. They were 20 pounds overweight. They had this problem, that problem, and again, get clear with it. And what they found was, we move on to observation. So I related with a customer that had a similar problem. My clients can relate to that. You go on to observation. Now you're really getting into how you solved it. So with your observation, you might say, what my customer and what my client found was, by getting some help from somebody else, it provided them with the motivation that they needed in order to lose the weight, because they kept waking up day after day with the best intentions to work out and going to sleep every single night with regret because they didn't get to it. By working with somebody else, it allowed them to stay on track. It allowed them to have that guide to get them to their goal. So you want to observe something. That's really where you're solving the problem. And then you want to leave them with something. So a mission, it could be an appointment, like, hey, DM me if you want to set up a call. Or it could be just something as simple as make a comment below if you've had a similar struggle, and let us know what your struggle was, your specific struggle. You don't want to just end your social media posts with nothing. Give them something, even if it's click the link down below to get a free guide or a free article or a free checklist, something from me. You want them engaging, and the social media platforms reward for engagement. Okay, so that's kind of the prom. If you want to click to the next one. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, Israel, you already did. So problem, this would be just an example. So my problem might be, how life just starts to get in the way and fitness usually ends up never happening. I can relate. I'm a busy professional with a family. Fitness seemed to always take a back seat. what I realized was that I needed instruction and I needed help and motivation to keep me on track towards my fitness goals. So my mission with this might be PM me and I will send you X, Y, or Z. Okay, this is just we teach this, and I've been teaching this to personal trainers for 5 or 10 years. It's a great way to stop people in their tracks and get them to listen to what you're going to say and give them something as a call to action. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. I'll give you one more that's really common, especially on Facebook. And the reason why this one is more common on Facebook is because of the terms and conditions of Facebook. There are certain things that you can say and there's certain things that you can't say, especially if you're doing paid advertisements on Facebook. You have to be very careful with not pointing anything out that makes someone feel like they're inadequate. And so with this, which we call AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action, you're starting with kind of the end result. So attention, and I'm going to give you an example of this as well. Attention might be get their attention with some type of hook. It could be novelty, it could be discovery, it could be a case study. And if you start looking at some of the ads in social media, you'll see AIDA being used a lot. Then you build some interest. Now that you've got their attention, you build some interest by explaining why behind the desire. Make them want it. So you build some desire towards making a change. And then again, you always give them a call to action. I say not, do you like coffee? And the reason why I say under action, if you see that, the reason why I say not, do you like coffee is because I had a friend who got married a few years ago. And I remember talking to him at his wedding. And long story short, he gave me this, he kind of said to me, Joel, I don't know how I ever got married. And I said, okay, tell me more. And what he said was he would just go out on these dates or he would meet someone that he really, really liked. So he wouldn't be on a date yet. He'd meet someone that he really, really liked. And he would get towards the end of the night or towards the end of the social engagement. And instead of asking them out, he would say something like, so do you like coffee? And what he's trying to do is he's hoping they give him a call to action, and that never happens. You need to call your customer to action, your client to action. You're kind of the guide. Make them the hero, and the way that you do that is by calling them to action. So let me give you an example of this. This is from a lady, Israel, if you can go to the next slide. A lady named Marie Forleo, and she's pretty well known. She's a great copywriter. She's got great advertisements. It's a little blurry, but I'll read it to you. So here's her attention. All progress begins with a brave decision. So she's calling out, like she's really just excited about something, get you motivated about something. Whether things are great right now and you have to make them even better, or you're in a tough spot and need to make a change. Fast, know this. Okay, so now she's setting it up. Here's some interest. You would not have the dream if you didn't already have what it takes to make it happen. Take the next step now. So she's actually giving him even a little preliminary call to action. She's building that interest. She's building that desire. And then here's the call to action. Download this free audio training and learn 3 simple strategies that'll give you clarity and confidence to build your dreams. And then she gives a bit.ly link there that someone can go to and they get that thing. So one thing that I'll just point out, if you are using social media like Facebook to like link to an article, never just link to an article. You don't just want to say, hey, check out my article and put the link. And the reason is, this is just for all the social media. All social media platforms want you to stay on their platform. By just giving a link, you're trying to get them to a different platform. And so Facebook will bury that quickly. So you got to give some context before you give that link. Okay, so hopefully those give you some practical ideas of how you can implement the messages, kind of make sure you're not using marketing myopia, you are being empathetic to your potential clients, and you're stopping your clients, your customers in their tracks, so they listen to the message that you're putting out there. So Israel, I'll kind of stop there and see we have any questions or if any other comments that either one of you want to make.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. You know, for Rick and Joel, both amazing content. And I know we were joking about this earlier before the call. This could be a 6-part series. There's just so much to know and so much to learn in social media. And so sometimes as trainers, I know, you know, myself included, you know, when we're trying to get a message out there, I know sometimes it's paralysis by analysis, right? So like we tend to overthink it, and well, I don't want to say this, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this. But you know, there's an old adage, it's an old quote that says you don't have to be, you know, great to start, but you got to start to be great. And so part of this process for many of the people on the call, the questions are coming in right now is, you know, I don't even know where to start. You know, again, there's just so much to learn. I don't want to do the wrong thing. How do I start?
Can I jump in right there real quick,
yeah,
Izzy?
please. Yeah, please.
So something I learned about 5 years ago, and I live by this, is good enough and now is better than perfect and never. So when I first started producing videos, I learned to produce videos just a few short years ago. I've been in this industry for 20 years, and I shifted over to video production and fell in love with it. It just kind of happened. And I used to spend weeks trying to perfect a 3-minute video. And eventually you got to say it's good enough and get it out there. And guess what? The next one's going to be better. And then the one after that's going to be better. And then you're going to mess up. You're going to look at things and go, oh, but guess what? The person on the other end isn't going to look at the post and go, what a stupid post. They're either going to be interested in it or they're not going to be interested in it. They're not going to say, well, I didn't like this about the video, or I didn't like that. So really, it's get in. Just get in and start posting things that follow the guide. Just take Joel's script right there. Go back to the elements of value that we talked about. Choose an element of value that that your services match. So the way you train people, maybe you're that fun and entertaining trainer, and that matches that, your personality matches that, and you start targeting people who aren't getting involved in fitness because they think it's boring, and just start posting using the ADA or whatever, and focus on that segment, and that's your starting point.
Yeah, spot on, Rick, man. I also think of the old adage that perfection is the enemy of progress. Right, we're trying to we're trying to move ahead, and we want it to be perfect. And so next thing you know, it takes us 2 weeks to come up with the world's perfect post that a couple people may see on our friends and family news feed. And so it's like we just got to get stuff out there, and then we learn, we adapt, we get feedback. So
and you can always delete it.
That's
you can
right.
Always delete it.
That's right. I've done plenty of those. Like, I probably shouldn't post it. So again, really good question here coming in from Jerry Flynn. So Jerry, thank you so much for submitting this. Jerry's question is, do we want to just concentrate on a few social media platforms where we think our demographic will most likely be using? What would you guys say?
I'll chime in on that one. And unfortunately give you it depends. And the reason why I say it depends is it depends on the resources and time that you have. If you find yourself kind of trying to get on every single platform, do the YouTube video, now make it over to Facebook and do a separate one, and you're creating separate things for all the different channels, then you probably just want to focus on whatever one is most appropriate for your demographic. And obviously, Instagram's more visual and Facebook is more of a community. YouTube is the second highest search engine after Google. People are going there for information, and obviously Twitter is different. So you can kind of repurpose some, but there's not always a good transition. It's kind of like, when we post something on YouTube, we'll put it over on LinkedIn just because that works for our platform. If you find it's just too much of a time suck where you're not able to do the other high priority things, then focus on maybe one channel or two channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, that's the bottom line with that is, to be effective, you need to work within the parameters of the specific platform. So it takes a lot of time to get it right, and if you're trying to get it right on all of them, you're just never gonna pull it off.
Yeah.
It's a time issue.
Yeah, and it's funny with we look at the different age groups now, right? We've got our Gen Zs, we've got our millennials, we've got our baby boomers, and so this next question from Kelly is, I train the 50+ age group, right? So silver and strong, what we call them. So I train the 50+ age group, and my niche is corrective exercise with a slant towards potentially Parkinson's, strokes, heart attacks. How do I promote what I do when a lot of the older people may not be on Instagram?
Yeah. Rick, you want to start with that?
Yeah, so word of mouth is absolutely key. It really is hard to do that. A lot of them are on Facebook. Facebook is probably the direction to go for that demographic, but it's really, are you online? Is she online, or he is? Are they online? Assuming, is it an online business or in person? Can we get that answer or no?
We'll assume that she's trying to do some things online, and maybe,
Online,
and Kelly,
yeah.
if you want to follow up with
I'd
this,
say,
it's
yeah,
fine, but yeah.
Facebook is probably leaning more that way. I mean, even my mom is now, liking stories on Facebook. So, they're getting more involved in Facebook, and even my mom even started going on Instagram recently. So, they're getting there. Not as frequently, maybe not as common, but if you're in person training, it's a lot of it is going to be the word of mouth, and social media is not always the way to go for in person training. But for that
And it
online
is.
business, I'd just say simply, I say focus on Facebook.
Yeah, and it is. She
Yeah,
just typed through. Her training is in person, but she's trying to figure out how to communicate her message, via social media. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
and really with
and you can do. I mean, you can start boosting posts, and when you boost posts, you can choose the demographics that you want to see it.
and you can kind of backdoor it as well. I know this is about social media, but email is not dead, and so what you can do is email her those types of people that your demographic, your community. Let's say a checklist of if you're really focusing on functional training and that type of thing. You give a checklist of some things, maybe it's just some type of assessment that you do, and have them download it. And then in the email, you just have a link to your Facebook page. So now they can click to the Facebook page and join your community of people, and you can create groups from doing that. And now they have other people that they can bounce decisions off of or questions off of, and you can get in there and you can interact with them. I think as a trainer, I would for sure with your niche have Facebook groups set up.
Yeah, good feedback. Thanks, fellas. The other question here, and Rick, I think you touched on this, is paying to boost ads a best practice? And Pete sent that through, Pete Guzman.
I'm going to start and then hand it over to Joel. I have seen with our private training business, I've seen some success boosting, but I will say that doing actual ads are more effective, much more effective. We do both with our private training business. I'm going to hand the ads. Joel's more of the ads expert than I am. I do ads, but he does it better than I do, so I'm going to hand it off to him for that portion.
Yeah, so a couple things just to make sure everyone understands what the difference is between a boost and an ad. When you boost a post, it's something that stays on your feed. So you've created a post, and it's on your feed, and you see that people like it or you like it, and you want to boost it so that it gets in front of more people. So it never goes away from your feed. A Facebook ad isn't on your actual feed. You create it in probably Business Manager, but in Ads Manager, you're going to create this advertisement, and no one is ever going to see it unless they know where to look. And that's maybe a separate webinar that we would do, because you can find anyone's ad that is being run, and you can kind of spy on your competition and see what they're running as far as ads are concerned. So as far as boosting is concerned, it can be beneficial. Here's a little tip. If you're going to boost an ad, make it, use the AIDA, make it compelling, and then boost it right after you post it. You really have about an hour for the algorithm to really get traffic over to your message or to your post. So you don't want to wait an hour, 2 hours, 24 hours. Boost it right away if you're planning on boosting it, and it'll just basically tell Facebook algorithms that this is important. Then you'll start getting more engagement, and then that'll just snowball it. Also, don't forget your call to action. You want to get people engaging in that post, and not with just a yes or no. Like, you kind of want to give an open-ended question so that they're actually posting more information. So quick little tip, boost it right away.
So for me, Joel, you wouldn't recommend the selfie that I took of myself this morning after my workout, boosting that full throttle?
You can give it a try, Israel.
Okay, not a lot of call to actions there, obviously. So another really good question here, as we kind of look through these, a little bit more specific in the type of picture. So if you're going to post a graphic on social media, do you have any recommendations with the marketing style or any suggestions there when posting a picture on social media?
You're gonna start with that, Rick?
Yeah, it has. So first of all, just spend time finding what catches your eye, or think of it. You can either think of it what catches your eye, or if you think about what is the segment. So we'll get to the answer. I'm kind of leading up to it. What is the segment that your services are best for? What age group, what interests, and then that person, we develop an avatar is kind of where I'm going with this. You develop this person, a fake person who would be the ideal client for you, and you figure out, what are they interested in and what do they like, and then go through. You can go to Canva and search all sorts of different, all sorts of different posting options, or just search Instagram in general or Facebook in general, and look at it and see what would this fake person, or maybe a real person, what would catch their eye? What are they interested in? What are they liking? And then you copy that style. But then, if you start copying style, it's you're not being yourself. So you also want to think about what matches your personality. So if you're kind of a more hardcore trainer, but then you say, oh, well, my clients want to see fun things. So you start doing all these, fun posts, and then they come to meet you and they realize you're like in the military. Going to you is like joining the military and you're going to kick their butt. Well, that doesn't match what you showed on social media. So you need to make sure that your personality and what your services are match whatever that imagery is going to be.
Yeah, so I'll just add to that. If you're promoting something, it shouldn't look like a promotion. It should look very native. It shouldn't like stop them as an interrupt in a negative way. We want to stop them and get them to lean in, like, oh, what's that? Like, one of my favorite images that I saw just a couple days ago when I was looking at different ads and kind of getting some ideas was just some guy, and he had his hands over his face, just like, oh, like, I can't believe this. And so it kind of stops you, like, oh, what's wrong with him? And then you read, and he starts with problem in that situation, and he kind of goes through another type of copywriting principle, which is problem, agitation, solution, but it's similar to PROM. So just look native. And just kind of on that point, if any of you are good at video, Facebook is rewarding video because they are competing with YouTube, and YouTube has the has the market on video, but Facebook wants it. So if you can create video, especially short 6 to 8 second video, they are rewarding that. We call it just short form video. Doesn't mean you can't do longer form, but quick, grab their attention, but with making it native. And just, I think something that will help real quick, maybe just to get us sort of focused when we're doing social media, there's really only 4 things that you're going to do with social media. Big brands do the first one, which is listen. You're going to listen to your customers. You're listening to hear what people are saying on the different social media platforms. And if you're a trainer, a gym, you might not have the time to do that, but you're just trying to provide customer service and give shout outs where it's needed and take stuff where people are upset offline. You're going to influence people would be the second thing. And that's what most of what we do on social media is. You're influencing people. You're building that brand reputation with that influence. The next one would be networking. So are you networking with somebody else and trying to get them to network back with you? Maybe you're, linking to PTA Global because you have a PTA Global certification and saying this was the greatest certification, and knowing that they might highlight you as well. And then the last one would be promoting. But the reason I bring this up is one of the problems I see is sometimes we promote too much, because you really want to think of social media as being like a cocktail party or a social event. You don't want to be that guy or girl who's coming in just trying to sell your stuff all the time. You want to be making sure that you're providing the influence and it relates to the brand messaging that exists for you.
Yeah, and then just from a choosing a style or an imagery type of thing, there's nothing wrong with just going out there and being in different personal training groups on Facebook, and when you start connecting with people and you find other brands or other people, other personal brands or other companies that are similar to yours, check out their social media feed. Reach out to us. We can show you how you can look up their ads if they've done ads, and just you can start being more similar to theirs. I mean, a good example. With my wife, we did a video several weeks ago. We were launching a new program online, and we had seen a post where it was just somebody with a whiteboard. And it's just, they hold up the sign, it says attention, whatever your segment is, and then you put it down and you put it back up. You need some editing skills to do this. but then you put it back up, and now the whiteboard says, do you struggle with X? Put it down, put it back up again. And that performed better than almost anything we've done since we launched our business online. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with taking concepts from somebody. And,
No, guys and girls, what I would do is I would get a swipe file, start taking screenshots, put them in a folder. Just when you need them, you go back to them and look at them. So you got your swipe file of those, because you don't want to just be looking at a blank piece of paper or a blank computer screen and think, oh, what am I going to say? Get your swipe file and just look and see and say, oh, that's perfect for today, and kind of get it on a schedule. One of my, we're throwing around quotes. One of my favorite quotes is Steve Jobs, and what he said was, good artists borrow, great artists steal. So don't be afraid to use some other people's stuff if you need to.
Yeah. And I said it in passing, but Canva is an amazing resource. Yeah. So just go to Canva and there's templates, and you can just take a template and just change the words on the template and change the picture.
Yeah. Awesome, fellas. Some great content there. So question from Mia is on hashtag questions. She wants to actually know about how many hashtags what's the right number? So do we max out at 30 hashtags to get more attention, or would you guys recommend something different?
Go ahead, Rick.
It's those crazy algorithms are always, no one actually, we all pretend to know, and we throw numbers out there. The most recent I've seen was 9 was the recommendation, but by the time we've all heard that it's 9, it's probably 37. And you got to magically somehow figure out how to get 37 in there. It's really to be honest, the algorithms, no one really knows. People pretend to know, but we don't know. Was it a great post, or was it the hashtags? I do notice now. I have kind of, for me, to Joel's point earlier, I've started doing a lot less promotional and fit biz posts on my personal Instagram. And I have noticed that I do about 9 is the number I'm sticking to, because that's the most recent recommendation I saw. And as I'm doing posts about running, I'm doing like 9 hashtags, and they're all running related. And I'm getting new followers who are fellow runners, and they love running. And a lot of these people that are marathon runners, et cetera, are now following me and liking all my posts. So it seems like, from what I'm doing, that 9 might be right. Or is it just that it's the right hashtags? That's the question to be answered. And only Instagram knows the answer.
Yeah, and I would just test, kind of trying to create a movement around your hashtag. So get your tribe involved with the hashtags, and once they start posting stuff, have them use even if it's 1. I train with Teresa or whatever it is. Create your own hashtag and get a movement around that with your tribe, and you can kind of use it that way as well.
And just pick a number like I did. I picked 9, and I'm sticking with it's around 9 I'm doing. So it's just just pick a number and just stick with it. And if you feel like you might get benefits by adding more, you can try it. But like I said, the only people that know is the people at Instagram.
Yeah, it's a good question.
So Mia, there's your hashtag answer.
Little wishy-washy, but it's an answer.
Yeah. No. Hopefully that helps you, Mia. So next question here is from Pete. Pete asked about the frequency. How often should you be posting on Facebook and Instagram or other?
If you can post every day, then post every day. If you can't post every day, be consistent with when you are posting. So it's kind of like your favorite television show. You know when it's coming on, and you know what to expect. So you're sitting there waiting for it to come on. These days, I guess we don't have to do that, but it's it's human nature that we want some consistency there. So be consistent. The more, the better, and the more consistent times, the better.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, because remember, one of the things we talked about is likes are not as important as engagement. So we want people commenting and being involved. The more you're in their face, more in people, the more you're in their feed, I should say, not in their face, but the more you're in their feed, the more they see you, the more comfortable they become with you, and the more they'll begin to comment. So I've, personally upped it. I've been posting, 2 to 3 times a day recently. The struggle is staying away from being too promotional. So it's really, the kids, and then the run, and then, here's what I'm doing today for dinner. Those types of posts go a long way for engagement. And that way, once they are engaged, when you have that promotional post, they're not going to just immediately ignore it because you haven't posted in a day and a half. You have all these other posts, they're going to go, oh, well, what is this? Oh, it's a promotion. I'm not interested in that. But they're still interested in the other posts that you have coming, so you keep the other posts coming. So yeah, the more you post, the more engagement you're going to get.
Yeah, and I would say, especially with COVID-19, the more that you're in somebody's face, probably the less comfortable they get. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Israel, because I want to mention some stuff about that. You kind of have to also be aware of what everybody else is doing. You know, like we're right now in sort of an ad fatigue or even social media fatigue around, all right, you're stuck at home. People have heard it so many times, it's like their eyes are glazing over. So you want to have that pattern interrupt in a positive way to try to figure out what else could you say, and kind of using that moment of highest tension. And on that point, just know that if you are doing ads, like there are certain things that you'll do that are going to cost you. Like if you put a mask in the picture of your ad, you're competing now, especially with Facebook, it's an auction. You're competing with all the other companies that have that mask. And so now your ad cost is going to go through the roof. So you have to be careful with just what other brands are doing, and just, you know, there's a little bit to that. So just be kind of aware of what other companies are doing, and make your decisions with that in mind.
Izzy's back.
Izzy.
Thanks, fellas. So again, some next steps. We had a question around specific like books or additional information. So I think this is a perfect time to segue into our next step. So everybody on this call, first of all, thank you so much. You have, you know, carved out time out of your day, and time is the most important thing you can ever get, because you can never get it back. And so thank you for carving out your time. But you know, each of you on this call are committed to, you know, think, act, and do something differently, right? And so some next steps with that is you're going to be receiving a free mini course on segmentation and copywriting from FitBiz Toolbox. You'll receive that email here shortly. You'll also have some discount codes from PTA Global. So if you're wanting to brush up on your education, you're needing some CECs to renew your cert, or you're just wanting to continue to deep dive and become the best, you know, professional that you can possibly be, because remember, we can't give what we don't have, we can't teach what we don't know. We're going to be able to help you from a PTA Global perspective with that as well. And so you'll receive that email shortly. Definitely check your junk folder there in case it gets stuck, you know, in that box. Also, just make sure that you're following both PTA Global and FitBiz Toolbox on Instagram, right? Facebook, LinkedIn. I'll just tell you, for me, if I wanted to know how the experts did social media, guess what I would do? I would follow them on social media, right? So I'm personally going to be following your brand, FitBiz Toolbox, to see, okay, how many hashtags are you guys using, right? Like, what kind of calls to action? How are you using ADA? Because I want a blueprint of what great looks like.
Let me preface it here. We're paused on Instagram right now, so don't be too, don't analyze it too closely.
All right, well, you can just follow Rick and his running journey then. That's pretty exciting.
There you go.
But definitely, that's, you know, that is one of the best resources right now, team, is because we're constantly putting out, whether it's new webinars, new content, things that you can not only learn, but then go and apply. That's where power, because if it doesn't make dollars, it may not always make sense. And so for many of the professionals on the call, you're looking for ways to not only add value and add impact and create influence, but in hopes that, you know, you're not always a starving artist, right? That you can actually make a living doing what you love. And I think the content that you heard today is just a snippet of being able to do that. If you really want to expand and learn more, again, follow FitBiz Toolbox, check them out on social media. I've also included each of our personal contacts. So for anyone that had specific questions that maybe we didn't get a chance to answer, or maybe you think of something later, I've put myself, Joel, and Rick's personal information up here. We opted not to do Joel's address, although he's open. We opted not to do that in the case that, you know, you send candy grams or something. He's on a you know, low sugar diet. So, but thank you, team. I so appreciate your time. Joel and Rick, thank you so much for taking this time to invest in something that the industry needs desperately right now. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you all for being here.
Having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, team. Take care. Happy Wednesday, and we'll talk to you later.